Welcome to the new way of living. It's just the beginning of lavish. Sometimes you gotta bleed.
I am trapped. Stuck in a cycle I've never been able to break. I want to believe this is the last time, but I don't know for sure.
Welcome back, guys. My name is Callie, aka Callie's Jams, and it's time we turn back to my album synopsis series. Unlike some artists I have done in the past where we have dived into their latest records, we are going to be looking at an album that came out 7 years ago, and that is a 21 Pilots album in which it is called Trench. I have been a 21 Pilots fan since 2015, and I went to see them in August of 2022. Even though I got COVID, it was so worth seeing them in person. But anyways, yes, I cannot beat the weird kid allegations if someone were to play a 21 Pilots song to me.
Nobody thinks what I think.
Now, why am I picking to analyze Trench out of all of their entire discography? Well, it's for many reasons. From the build-up since their debut album to the popularity of the Blurryface album, Trench is a record, in my opinion, that encapsulates their best sound production, their silent but powerful storytelling, the world created within the album, and how it leaves a universal mark on humankind and the boxes we create within society itself. We will dive into more in these subjects as we move forward. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into Trench. Feel free to pause the video right here if you need to grab a sweet treat for yourself, or a beverage, or a blanket, because girl, this is gonna get deep really, really fast. So yeah, here we go.
Random disclaimer. Hey, don't do anything that I say in this song, okay? It's fucking fiction. If anything happens, don't fucking blame me.
Track 3, Morph. From the sudden boost of adrenaline in Jumpsuit to the introduction of Healing Oneself and Levitate, we then have Morph, a track that is a little more soft but is comforting to longtime 21 Pilots fans. The title alone tells that it is about morphing, fitting into everyone else, or trying to be like everyone else. It can also describe of how the bad habits you have once had are making you crave it again, like an addiction, as it states in the first verse.
Can't stop thinking about if and when I die for it. Now I see that if and when are truly different cries for it. If it's purely panic, and when it's solemn sorrow. And one invades today, while the other spies tomorrow.
Then Tyler describes a possible existential crisis, asking questions in these lyrics.
If and when we go above, the question still remains. Are we still in love, and is it possible we feel the same? And that's when going under starts to take my wonder. But until that time, I'll try to sing this.
Then the chorus chimes in which Tyler is supposing that if he were to fall back into those bad habits again, no one would notice, and that he would just become like everyone else. As it says, I really think that this concept alone is so overlooked. Because for people that have had addictions, if they were to be cleansed by getting the help that they need, what if they relapse? And if they do, is somebody going to know? Are they not going to know? And if they do know, it's our way to cope through what is actually coming in front of us, which could either be more pain, fear, rejection, or the people that has once supported that addictive person is no longer helping them because they are relapsing. Now on to the third verse. We get to meet the Blurryface character, aka Nicholas Bravacchi, which his nickname is Nico. Nico himself represents the anxiety and the pain Clancy keeps getting captured too. He is also the main priest in the city of Dima. Yet in a weird way, the relationship between Clancy and Nico is like a Stockholm syndrome, which circles back to the concept of desiring to relapse. It's like as if Clancy is in love with certain parts of it but knows the suffering that's going to come along the way, as it writes within this part of the third verse.
He told me I'm a copy. When I hear him mock me, that's almost stopped me.
As much as it discusses the central message of anxiety, it also talks about the cold truth of being fascinated by suicide. And Tyler has discussed this a lot within his music career, especially with his solo unreleased tracks and their first self-titled debut album. One more thing before we move on to track 4. If you did notice, there are some words within the lyrics that are hyphenated, and there is a reason for it. And I think the reason is because of how anxiety proves no solidarity, such as the words if or around it. And then for the suicide part, we have the words around, under, and above. This could mean that the concept of suicide could feel like the only way to go versus trying to turn the switch off of depression, which could mean the around word aspect, which is actually the meaning of Dima's religion vialism in the Trench universe. Then there is forcing yourself to go above to try to feel better, but the existential crises and the struggles will sometimes pull you under. All in all, this track is so underrated, yet is a great reminder to all to realize that you have some mental health patterns and addictive parts of yourself.
The question still remains, are we still in love, and is it possible we feel the same? And that's when going under starts to take my wonder.
Track 4, My Blood. In comparison to the other tracks, lore-wise, this song is a much more simple one to analyze, because it does not discuss any of the Trench lore at all. It's an easy way to say that no matter what happens, you will always have a ride or die, someone to help you cope with through life, which makes me think that this song is about the one and only torchbearer, Josh Dun. The sounds of this song is much more light and catchy, yet the synths and the percussive elements hold the weight of being extremely emotional to the one that you love. The music video also really tells a lot about this idea as you try to cope through the struggle by being independent on a figure that you categorize as a ride or die. And then when you overcome so much depth and trauma, you finally come to terms with yourself and realize that you can now be independent and courageous on your own, which, oh my god, what a powerful storyline. I also adore the reference of saying my blood, because it may not mean your blood family. It could mean just simply your ride or die, being your blood, or a part of you. It's just a wholesome and yet a wonderfully, beautifully made song. Track 5, Chlorine. Chlorine is one of those songs and where you listen to it and you just can't stop listening to it.
No, it's something about that song that just make you want to get up and bust a motherfucking move.
The sounds, the vocals, the synths, the piano slides, the echoes, and the tone of it all just coincide with the word chlorine. But I don't know, that's just my opinion. Now for the description itself, there could be a reason why this song is so addictive. And I think that's because of how the instruments and melody try to make it sound like an earworm or an addictive sound, in which that Tyler becomes too addicted to the chlorine chemical by making music maniacally, which is what this song is about. Oh my god, yes, because I've done that so many times with my music and producing music, and it just feels exactly like the song. I also think the creativity aspect is the main theme of the song as it states within the bridge. Tyler is the chemical element and the house is his creativity. Or in the Trench universe, it can be these little cuties. A Ned. Just a cute little guy that streams creativity and helps Clancy activate his true self and further helps the Bandito rebellion. Regardless, the lyrics and the sound describe the moments of making music perfectly, especially with these lyrics. Track 6, Smithereens. Smithereens, I think, is one of the most chill tracks as it slowly foreshadows the deepest track within the album. According to an article written by Clifford Stoom in The Pop Song Professor, Smithereen establishes a story in which Tyler describes his typical and normal personality, which is in the first verse.
You know, I've always been collected, calm and chill. And you know, I never look for conflict for the thrill. But if
You might think to yourself that because of the cute and fluorescent instruments, such as the synths and the lighthearted percussion, you're like, oh, it's just good old Tyler Joseph talking about how he can be a normal person. Oh, that is so far from the truth. Continuing with the Stoom article, we realize that the chorus is this.
For you, I go step to a dude much bigger than me. For you, I know I would get messed up with 153. For you, I would get beat to smithereens.
And that means that if Tyler were to get into a fight, he would not have a problem with it at all. And then this leads into the second part of the verse and the title reference. The lyrics in this stanza is a place of acceptance for Tyler as he realizes that he might be smaller than the bully that might beat him up, but it's all worth it because of how much he cares for this person that is being threatened. Which, if you really think about it, My Blood and Smithereens are basically brother and sister. They have the exact same premise, same concept, but very different tones for the listeners. So you may not catch this notion right away, but the more you hear the lyrics, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now for the second half after the bridge, the "you know I had to do it," we then hear these lyrics.
For you, I'd go write a slick song just to show you the world. For you, I know they think it's messed up to sell out for your girl.
This is when I discovered that even though this song sounds like another wholesome Josh Dunn bromance song, it's actually about Tyler's wife, Jenna. Because think about it. If your partner suddenly got hurt or abused in any way, wouldn't you want to do the same actions Tyler demonstrated in the song? Additionally, if you adore your partner, you would want to make a song that isn't as typical and cheesy as your average love song. So the Stoon article about Smithereens actually states this idea, saying,
It is very impressive and interesting for him, Tyler, to have that level of self-awareness, where he understands that writing music about a female you love and care about in your life for a male artist is almost a cliche, if it weren't for such a foundational structural thing in music, art, literature, and songwriting. It's like, so you really love her, right? You'd step to for her, yeah? Okay, cool. Tyler makes it interesting and unique by saying, I'd be willing to get beaten up by pretty badly for you, instead of I'm going to beat up that dude. Nope, this dude is going to beat me up, and it's all for you, my love.
So yes, because of the title, the floaty sounds, and the reassurance, this song is about Jenna and how much Tyler will do anything for her and take care of her wholeheartedly. So when you hear this song, think of it in this light and take that to heart towards someone you love dearly, because this next track is about to get super serious. Track 7, Neon Gravestones. This track is my personal favorite. It starts off very gothic with a piano melody, a stalling bass, and a track pan synth with an upbeat percussion that feels a little bit antsy, which I think is the icing on the cake of how good the instrumental aspect of this song is. And as the song builds, it's very climactic, as it builds from a soft sound, yet keeping the percussion and the piano melody, to a louder, harsh vocalization, and then to the climax, in which Tyler breaks open a casket of intense and raw emotions. We will discuss that specific story element of the song later, because I would like to start off with the lyrics first. The first verse.
What's my problem? Well, I want you to follow me down to the bottom, underneath the insane asylum. Keep your wits about you while you got them, cause your wits are first to go while you're problem solving in my problem.
This introduces on how Tyler is blatantly still struggling to find himself, being pulled under his suicidal tendencies and thoughts. He wants to try to help others who are suffering similar symptoms, yet there is a problem, and that problem is in the second verse.
My opinion, our culture can treat a loss like it's a win, and right before we turn on them, we give them the highest of praise and hang the banner from a ceiling. Communicating further, engraving an earlier grave is an optional way. No.
From the lyrics alone, the problem Tyler is having is the societal take on suicide, on how people glamorize it to a degree in which results in having that desire to hurt themselves. As it says in the phrase, an earlier grave is an optional way. And of course, Tyler is not pleased to hear about this at all, because as much as he is struggling with some illness within that desire, there are other people too, which then leads to the phenomenon of neon gravestones, the people who are seeking to die because there is no better option. This also can reference back to the city of Dima, in which his religious followers follow this pattern, And now we can see the reason why Tyler created that world in his mind for what it actually is. The chorus.
Neon gravestones try to call. Neon gravestones try to call for my bones. Call.
You really see how those two words sink in and how much weight is grasping upon these people, especially towards Tyler himself, because now he gets flat out angry, and we notice that within the third verse.
What's my problem? Don't get it twisted. It's with the people we praise who may have assisted. I could use the streams and extra conversations. I could give up and boost up my reputation. I could go out with a bang. They would know my name. They would host and post a celebration. My opinion will not be lenient. My opinion, it's real convenient. Our words are loud, but now I'm talking action. We don't get enough love, well, they get a fraction. They say, how could he go if he's got everything? I'll mourn for a kid, but won't cry for a king.
These are the most important lyrics to analyze, in my opinion. Firstly, we have the resistance on how he will not fall into the desire, like we have mentioned throughout this song, but also at how the notion of words can't do much, but actions can. Then when people as a collective discuss about victims of suicide, they will say similar things to how they get enough love, which could explain the how could he go if he's got everything phrase. And then the best part of this verse, I'll mourn for a kid but won't cry for a king. I don't think that line needs to be explained, as people who fall victim to suicide have dealt with more pain than powerful leaders such as a king-like figure, especially considering at how pushed the concept of suicide was before it became too extreme to the point it got glamorized. Then the chorus repeats with, again, the same synths, the same percussion, the piano and melody, which makes the song much more hauntingly beautiful. The bridge then comes to these lines in which Tyler states that even though he has these opinions, he will accept the following.
Promise me this, if I lose to myself, you won't mourn a day, and you move on to someone else. Promise me this, if I lose to myself, you won't mourn a day, and you move on to someone else.
So let's head back to the story aspect of Neon Gravestones. The first two verses are the exposition that describe at how Tyler is upset at the culture and how they perceive suicide. The choruses are the consistent rising action to leave a mark on how much weight withholds a victim of suicide. The third and the fourth verse are the conflict, in which the bridge is the climax. There is the obvious reason at why this is the case, but I'd like to look at the instrumental point of view. As the sounds build and build, the bridge is just a piano solo which entraps the negative connotation of the song. And then once the final phrase, you'll move on to someone else, comes out, the piano with a sudden jive of new synths and heavy echoes just boom, just comes right in. And yet the same melody with the percussion and the trackpan synth continues. I really think that describing a lot about how suicide can happen at any time and depression can really take a toll on your patterns of life as time moves on and on and on. And then the chorus repeats to really let that topic weigh in on the listener with a high-pitched sound effect, as if somebody is screaming in pain. As if the words didn't already weigh so much, you can also see the dynamics of it and the realism it all. And then once the chorus finally goes away, we then have the following actions, which are the last verses. These verses break a fourth wall to the listener, in which tells about how even though there's good things to help suicidal awareness, it's starting to become desensitized. And so Tyler offers a sense of new philosophical light by stating how it shouldn't be a form of anything rebellious, as it writes.
Don't get me wrong, the rise in awareness is beating a stigma that no longer scares us, but for sake of discussion and spirit of fairness, could we give this some room for a new point of view? And could it be true that some could be tempted to use this mistake as a form of aggression, a form of succession, a form of a weapon, thinking I'll teach them while I'm refusing the lesson?
Then he offers this perspective.
It won't resonate in our minds. I'm not disrespecting what was left behind, just pleading that it does not get glorified. Maybe we swap out what it is that we hold so high.
And by following this perspective, you can do it with these actions.
Find your grandparents or someone of age. Pay some respects for the path that they paved, to life they were dedicated. Now that should be celebrated.
I remember when I heard this song for the first time, and I was alone in my room, pondering about my most negative thoughts. But putting in those headphones really sunk into my brain and the way I think about life today. It also reminded me of where I was in my darkest places and how I overcame those obstacles. It was as if Tyler spoke lyrics that were necessary in that exact moment. like a cough medicine that you need, but it will not heal right away. Just something to remind yourself as you move forward. And so with neon gravestones, I hope you feel a similar way. Talk to your closest circle, get the proper help you need, and know that you are loved, always.
Find out what it is to be old so high. Find your grandparents or someone of age. Pay some respect for the path that they paved, to life they were dedicated. Now that should be celebrated.